How is everyone doing today? Good. Okay, great. And I like just so you know, this is going to be interactive presentation. All right. So number one, I want to say thank you guys very, very much for being here. I really appreciate you. And I want to let you know from bottom of my heart, I love you guys. Okay. I love entrepreneurs. I think we are the best people on planet Earth. And that being said, I love you guys. All right. So I have a question for you guys. Okay. How many of you are here because you want to grow your business? Okay, great. I'm glad you raised your hand, right? Now, when you want to grow your business, to give you an understanding about a little bit about who I am, my name is Shukla. I originally came here from India with 20 bucks and no English. I grew up here in Maryland, in the United States. I was a financial planner for 27 years. I was managing over $300 million in assets under management. I started my own company. I sold it about 5 years ago or so. I have been doing consulting, training, since about 2008. I have helped over 5,000 entrepreneurs. I've taken several entrepreneurs over $1 million in revenue, and I wrote a book called Sell Like Crazy. And it was my first book I wrote. Okay. And I received a Congressional Honor for the work I've done in terms of my work is concerned. Okay. So, so that's my little bit about my history. And now getting on to the understanding of who I am and what I actually do. But before I get there, I want to find out, what is your number one struggle that you have in business, in personal life, in finance, whatever that may be. What's your number one struggle that you want to solve?
Mine is doing the sales.
Okay, doing sales. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, who else?
Having a continuous flow of
Continue what?
having a continuous flow of business.
Okay.
Peaks and valleys. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Peaks and valleys. Got that. Okay. Who else?
Get more exercise. You said personal life too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. More exercise. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Great. Monica?
Marketing.
Marketing. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Now, when you're having these struggles, as you guys know, how many of you actually know the answer to your problem? To some degree. Okay. How many of you find yourself that it's just a matter of applying yourself in terms of making it work? How many of you would agree with that? Right. And I am asking you that question, and I'm sharing this with you because I find that entrepreneurs and business owners are very logical people. We want to make sure that if we do ABC, we get XYZ. Would we agree with that? We know that answer, right? We meet 10 people, we make 2 sales. We meet 20 people, we make 10 sales, whatever that number is for you. Correct? But you know what I find out? I found out that the number one killer of entrepreneurs and business owners is understanding belief in themselves, that intuition and tapping into it. And what I find with entrepreneurs and business owners is they're really in 3 different levels. So I'm going to share a story with you real quick. When I was coming from India for the first time, I had never been in a plane before. I had never seen a plane and like gotten into a plane. And we were at the Mumbai International Airport. At the Mumbai International Airport, we say final goodbyes to our family, and then we get into the plane. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. I was 16 years old kid, and I didn't know what that looked like. And I'm walking into a beige siding, maroon carpets, amazing fragrance, amazing time, right? Like I walk in the plane, and it's Mumbai International Airport. It's 100-degree weather, hot and muggy. Okay, welcome to Mumbai. So that being said, I go in the plane, we sit down, and the plane was delayed for 4.5 hours on the runway. At one point, they announced there's technical difficulty. I'm glad they fixed it, but there was technical difficulty, and we were hot and humid in the plane. And then finally, plane takes off, and we go to London Heathrow Airport. It was so gorgeous. It was probably the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I walked into the airport, and I had to go to the restroom, and I didn't know how to ask because I couldn't speak any English. I go past this door, and the people are coming in and out, and they're going in tense and coming out happy. I thought must be a nice VIP room or something. And I come out, and I finally, somebody comes, Indian person, and helps me out. And then I go to my dad, and I see him struggling. He's saying something the ticket counter person is not understanding. She's saying something he's not understanding. And then finally, Indian lady walks up and says, "You guys have missed your connecting flight. Now we have $20, zero English at London Heathrow Airport." And then what transpires is amazing. She gets us vouchers to stay in the hotel, and we got the food vouchers and all that. We go in the hotel. We had never been in such a beautiful hotel before, and then we are like, wow, this is gorgeous. And then we want to eat. Now imagine this: 1989, September 4th, 1989, London Heathrow Airport. Can't speak English, and I did not mean to do that. Can't speak English, okay? Can't speak English, okay? And more importantly, we are vegetarians. 1989, London Heathrow Airport, vegetarians. There's only 2 words for that. Good luck. Okay. And she walks up again, and she helps us get a spaghetti, a salad, and a bread roll. And we go into, I'm like, okay, I've never had grass in my life. I go for the grass. And I started eating what I can grab, right? It was horrible. Then I go for the spaghetti. It was a Kung Fu Panda spaghetti. It was totally plain noodles. And then finally I go for the bread, and it was all horrible food. The bread I couldn't even bite because it was a soup roll, English soup roll. And then finally next morning we took our dreams. We made sure we got onto the next plane, and we had an amazing conversation with my dad. After coming to the United States, within 1 year we bought a house. Now the question is, many times people ask me, Ash, how did you guys do that? How many of you have heard stories like that before? Or have heard stories where somebody went from someplace to someplace with nothing and did something fantastic, right? And how many of you internally tell yourself, I could never do that? Right? So the reason I tell you that story is either entrepreneurs are stuck at a Mumbai International Airport, they're stuck at the runway, and they can't seem to take off. Then I find that some entrepreneurs have taken off, gotten to the middle of the road, which is at the London Heathrow Airport, and can't find a restroom, but are looking for direction. How many of you are looking for direction to get somewhere? Right? Looking for some sort of guidance, right? That's number 2. And I find third type of entrepreneur who finally gets onto the plane, okay, and starts getting onto the destination. My commitment to entrepreneurs and individuals that I serve is to not to just give you the ticket to get on the plane, but take the ticket with you so we can both get to the destination. And my goal is to help you get there safely and soundly. I find out the number 1 reason that most people don't have or have hard time getting to the destination is conviction. The question is, how do you develop conviction? Anybody know? How do you develop conviction? There's a formula for that. How do you develop conviction?
Write it on a piece of paper.
Write it on a piece of paper. That's a great one. I like that. Okay, who else knows? How do you create a total conviction that I will make it no matter what? I'm sorry, Sonia?
Affirmations.
Affirmations. I like that very much. Okay, they help. But how do you create conviction? And there's actually ingredients. It's just like creating a nice food, okay? So first ingredient you need is magic. Magic. Believe in you that you can make it. How many of you have a total 1000% belief that no matter what, you're going to make it? Great. The second piece of ingredient that you need to reach your destination is logic. But how many of you doubt your own logic? And at what level do you doubt your logic? Like you say, I'm not good enough. How many of you said that sometimes? How many of you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it, right? Or you come from a fear, oh man, I just wish I did I knew I could do it, and I didn't take a chance. How many of you say that sometimes? All right, guys, look at me, because I want to make sure that you get my points, okay? All right, so if you are presenting, I promise I will pay just as much attention, okay? So I want us to be present, and this is a interactive presentation, just so you know, okay? And I like interactive presentations. So how many of you have said that sometimes, that, man, I wish like yesterday, if you were trading, right? Market just skyrocketed, and maybe you didn't take the trade. How many times you have done that in your life? That you are supposed to do it and you did not do it. And you go, man, I wish I did it, right? Or some other self-limiting beliefs that come into play. Your subconscious mind starts playing game with you. Agree with that? And that subconscious mind, like, I'm not good enough in sales. Who said that? I'm struggling in sales. You're struggling in sales, right? Akshaya, correct? And Balbir and Monica. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you made a sale before?
I have, but I'm not a
Okay,
salesperson.
I'm teaching you something, right? I understand you have, but okay, that means there's a self-doubt in there, correct? Somewhere in your subconscious, there is self-doubt that's creeping in and says, I have, but. I asked you a simple question, right? I'm going to ask you everyone to do this with me. Put your finger out like this. Come on, do this with me. All right, I'm going to ask a question. If you're touching a tree, what are you really touching?
The bark.
The bark. I like that. Okay, who else? If you're touching a tree, what are you really touching, guys? Come on.
The tree.
Okay. Who said that? Okay. Okay. If you're touching a tree, what are you really touching? Anybody else?
Wood.
A live plant.
A live
live
plant.
plant.
Okay.
A
Live
living
plant.
thing. Yeah, I was going to say a living thing.
A living thing, right? Okay. So how many of you thought about touching a tree is touching something else other than the tree?
Yeah, maybe invisible, imaginary, imaginary subject, I should say.
Okay. All right. Imaginary subject, right? But isn't it a fact that when you touch a tree, you're just touching a tree? Okay. So isn't that also a fact? So whenever you want to get to your destination, first learn to come to 100% truth.
Yeah.
Some of you say, I don't know how to do marketing. Let's check. Is that really a fact? Or is that a fiction? So Akshaya, you said that, you don't know how to make a sales, correct?
Correct.
But the fact is you made a sales before, correct?
Yes.
That means you know how to sell, correct?
Yeah, but
No, it's either yes or no. You know how to make a sale, correct?
Okay, yes.
Okay, it doesn't
Like,
matter
as
how
you said, no. Always say yes when you don't have to say no. Yeah.
Okay, but the answer is, okay, you are married?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so you made a sale, correct?
Ah.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So that means that you do know how to sell. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens, guys, with us is the magic is there, even if the magic is shaky, it's in a shaky ground, right? Logic is like, oh man, the belief is not there. The internal belief that needs to be the self-talk, right? The conversations you are having with yourself. Oh my God, I can do this, but, right? I think I can market myself, but I don't know perfect lines. I don't have perfect scripting. Because that's what we've been told. Am I right? And I did not mean to, hey, this is kind of cool though. I like it. Okay.
Looks good.
It's just
Right?
do not tell for yourself a negative thoughts.
Yeah,
just
so
so that you will conquer more things ahead. Just be more positive.
So the point is not just saying something positive. The point is first getting to the truth. Do you or do you not know how to do this? Right? First thing. Okay. So getting to the 100% truth. First thing. Second thing is Stop distorting information in your own mind. You guys have filters in your mind. Did you know that? Just like a real filter, there's a filters in your mind. That's called deletion, distortion, okay, and generalization. These are filters. So how many of you say sometimes, man, every time I do something, something goes wrong? I mean, if you say that, right? Okay, it's ancestral. Man, you know, I was born this way, and my family is this way, and my grandparents were that way, and my great-great-grandparents were that way, and that's why we don't have money. How many of you say that? Right? You think about that subconsciously. It always happens to me this way. How many of you say that sometimes? Yeah? So internal belief, right? The magic and the logic is not matching, number one, right? It's not adding up. And the third biggest piece is science. So when you don't have these two pieces together, it's hard for you to make your own science. How many of you listen to other people say, oh, man, I wish I was just like them? And then you start copying them. How many of you do that sometimes? You try to adopt their sales technique. You try to adopt their marketing tactics. You try to adopt their business tactics. You try to adopt their personal persona. Like I wanted to be Tony Robbins one time. I came to realize there is no way on planet Earth or in planet universe, right? I would ever be Tony Robbins. I don't want to go bankrupt 6 times. It's not my target, right? Because in order for me to be just like Tony Robbins, I have to go bankrupt 6 times. I don't want to do that. Tony Robbins works 7 days a week. I don't want to do that. How many of you agree that one of the biggest piece of the puzzle is creating your own science? But if you're not spending time figuring out the first 2 pieces, how are you going to build the piece number 3, which is creating your own science? Science that works for you, not for somebody else. People tell me all the time, you should do webinars. It's not my game. People say you should do 3-day, what do you call this, summits. Not my thing. But how many of you stop yourself and ask yourself, what's your thing? When you combine these 3 pieces of the puzzle together, you can make a conviction. Your inner conviction. And I specialize in helping you create that. So you can create that once you have that conviction, and when we put the puzzles together, it becomes it builds a powerful you. I help you energetically, internally, truly get aligned so you can get to your next destination, wherever you're trying to go. And you might say, well, Ash, how does that really help somebody? How does that help somebody? How does it help me market? How does it help me make more sales? But isn't marketing a process? Would we agree with that? Marketing is a process. Okay. Is sales a process too? Okay. Have you perfected that process the way you want it? The reason most entrepreneurs are stuck at the Mumbai International Airport in hot and humid weather, that there's technical difficulty in their business. And the technical difficulty is not the numbers. The technical difficulty is themselves, because they are the plane. Finally, sometimes plane takes off, right? And makes it at the London Heathrow Airport. And then you find out, wait a minute, I got here and I really don't know what I'm doing. Correct? And there is no one to have conversation with to get to your final destination. On how do you get to your final destination? And my friend, I take a pleasure in taking entrepreneurs and business owners to do that. That's why I received the Congressional Honor. And I can show you, I'm going to show you in a second in my website, right? In terms of what can be done here. And one of the coolest things that I do is I do have a community, and I do have, in terms of like, I do something called daily wealth manifestations. Every single day I come together and I help you create breakthroughs. How many of you have a hard time focusing? Focusing on one thing to get it done, finish it. right? Whatever your final destination is, finish it, right? Like drawing a straight line. And when I do these things with you, when I create a breakthroughs with you, when I sit down with somebody, my goal is to help you create breakthroughs. I just did that with somebody yesterday. They were struggling and I helped them create a breakthrough. It takes me between 30 minutes to 1 hour to create a breakthrough. Just like what I'm talking to you about, how many of you are realizing that problem is not the business? Correct? Yeah. So is it really about learning fancy sales techniques, Akshaya? No, you already know how to sell.
I do, yes.
Yeah, you know, you have a husband. You sold him, right? Whatever you did, but you sold him. The problem is it hasn't been step-by-step process. That's the only difference. Once you figure out how did you close your husband, if you just sit down and write down how did you close your husband? Okay, I met him at XYZ place and I put my charm on, okay? Like something like that, okay, whatever you did, all right? And then, okay, from there, I did my second thing, whatever the second thing is that you did, okay? And then I did my third thing, whatever the third thing is. Guess what? Closing a sale for entrepreneur is the same process. Did you know that?
I think I should get these tips from my husband. He closed
Yeah.
me.
So, hey, what did I do to you? Tell me. How did you feel when I did this, right? So, and you can create your own science.